There's a moment many people experience at some point in their lives. You wake up in the morning, already tired. Your mind is racing with responsibilities, deadlines, bills, expectations. And before the day even begins, you already feel behind. You check your phone, notifications, messages, emails. And suddenly the day starts reacting to the world instead of leading it. This is the exact problem the 5 a.m. Club tries to solve. But interestingly, this book isn't just about waking up early. It's about taking control of your life before the world demands your attention. The author, Robin Sharma, introduces the idea through a story. A struggling entrepreneur, an exhausted artist, and an unusual mentor known simply as the billionaire. All three meet at a seminar where people are searching for motivation, but leaving with more confusion than clarity. The entrepreneur is burned out. He's trying to succeed but feels stuck. The artist feels lost. She wants to create meaningful work but lacks structure. And then, there's the billionaire. Calm, focused, disciplined. He seems to know something the others don't. And slowly, he begins sharing a philosophy that has guided many of the world's most successful people. A philosophy built around one surprising habit: waking up at 5 a.m. Now at first, this idea sounds extreme. Many people hear it and immediately think, why would anyone wake up that early? But according to Sharma, the early morning hours are the most powerful time of the day. Why? Because while the world is still asleep, there are no distractions, no noise, no interruptions. Your mind is calm, focused, clear. And in that quiet space, something incredible can happen. You can work on yourself. Not your job. Not your obligations. But your growth. One of the most powerful ideas introduced early in the book is something called the victory hour. The first hour after you wake up. According to Sharma, how you spend this hour determines how the rest of your day unfolds. Instead of scrolling social media, instead of rushing into stress, you deliberately invest that hour in 3 areas of personal growth: mind, body, and spirit. He breaks this into a simple formula called the 20/20/20 rule. The first 20 minutes are for movement, exercise, stretching, running, anything that gets your blood flowing. Because when your body moves, your brain wakes up. Your energy increases. Your focus sharpens. Then comes the next 20 minutes. Reflection, journaling, meditation, thinking deeply about your goals. This is where clarity begins. And finally, the last 20 minutes. Growth. Reading. Learning. Developing new ideas. Feeding your mind with knowledge that pushes you forward. In just 1 hour, you've already invested in your health, mindset, and intelligence. Before most people have even opened their eyes. Imagine 2 people starting their day. The first person wakes up late. They check their phone immediately. Social media, emails, bad news. Within minutes, their brain is flooded with stress. They rush out the door, feeling scattered. Now imagine another person. They wake up at 5 a.m. They exercise for 20 minutes. Their mind becomes alert. Then they sit quietly and write down their thoughts. Clarity begins forming. Then they read something inspiring. By the time the sun rises, they already feel centered, focused, and prepared. Same 24 hours. Completely different start. Completely different mindset. And that's the core message in the first part of this book. Success isn't built in giant dramatic moments. It's built in small, consistent habits practiced daily. And according to Sharma, the morning is where those habits begin. As the story in the 5 a.m. Club continues, something interesting begins to happen. The entrepreneur and the artist start spending more time with the mysterious mentor, the billionaire. And slowly, they begin to realize that waking up at 5 a.m. isn't really about the clock. It's about discipline. It's about building a life where you are in control, instead of constantly reacting to everything around you. The billionaire explains something many of us already feel but rarely put into words. Most people spend their entire day responding to emails, responding to deadlines, responding to problems. But very few people spend time designing their lives. And that difference is what separates average lives from extraordinary ones. He explains that the early morning hours give you something incredibly rare in the modern world. Mental space. No notifications. No noise. No pressure. Just quiet. And in that quiet, your best thinking begins. One of the most powerful ideas the billionaire shares is that greatness is not built in one dramatic moment. It's built through small actions repeated over time. Think about learning a skill. The first day feels difficult. The second day feels awkward. The third day, you almost want to quit. But if you keep showing up, something begins to shift. Slowly. Quietly. Progress starts happening beneath the surface. And that's exactly how the 5 a.m. habit works. At first it feels uncomfortable. Your body resists it. Your mind complains. But over time, it becomes natural. And eventually, it becomes a part of who you are. Imagine someone who decides to wake up at 5 a.m. for the first time. The first morning is brutal. The alarm rings. Their mind says, just sleep another hour. But they get up anyway. The second morning feels slightly easier. By the fifth morning, their body begins adjusting. And by the 20th morning, something surprising happens. They begin to look forward to the quiet morning hours. Because during that time, they exercise. They think clearly. They plan their goals. They read something that expands their mind. And slowly, their days begin to feel different. More focused. More intentional. More powerful. Another powerful idea that appears in this part of the book is something many people overlook. Your energy is your most valuable resource. Not time. Energy. Two people can have the same 24 hours. But the person with more mental clarity, focus, and emotional strength will accomplish far more. That's why Sharma emphasizes protecting your mornings. Because once the day becomes busy, your energy begins to scatter. Meetings. Responsibilities. Distractions. But the early morning? That's sacred time. Time where you strengthen your body, sharpen your mind, and reconnect with your purpose. And by this point in the story, something interesting begins to happen. The entrepreneur starts feeling more focused. The artist begins rediscovering her creativity. Both of them slowly realize something powerful. Their lives aren't changing because of motivation. They're changing because of structure. Daily habits. Daily discipline. Daily growth. And the simple decision to start their day before the rest of the world wakes up. As the journey in the 5 a.m. club continues, the billionaire mentor begins to reveal something deeper. Something that most people completely underestimate. The real enemy of success today isn't lack of talent. It isn't lack of opportunity. It's distraction. We live in a world where attention is constantly being pulled in every direction. Phones buzzing. Social media notifications. Messages. News. Endless streams of information. And while these things seem small, they slowly chip away at something incredibly valuable. Your focus. The mentor explains that the people who achieve extraordinary results protect their focus like it's treasure. Because in a distracted world, focus has become a superpower. And the early morning hours, that quiet time at 5 a.m., create the perfect environment for that focus to grow. No interruptions. No outside noise. Just deep, uninterrupted thinking. One of the most powerful ideas introduced here is something surprisingly simple. Improving just a little bit every day. Not giant leaps. Not dramatic overnight success. Just small daily progress. Imagine improving your skills by only 1% every day. That doesn't sound like much at first. But over weeks, months, and years, that tiny improvement compounds into massive growth. Athletes train this way. Artists improve this way. Entrepreneurs grow this way. They show up every day. They practice. They refine. And slowly, mastery begins to form. Think about someone learning a new language. On the first day, they might only learn 5 words. It feels insignificant. But if they keep going, 5 words a day becomes 35 words in a week. More than 1,000 words in a year. And suddenly something amazing happens. They can hold conversations. They can understand people. What once seemed impossible becomes natural. And that's the power of consistent progress. The same idea applies to almost every area of life. Writing, fitness, career growth, personal development. Small improvements repeated daily eventually lead to remarkable transformation. Another idea the mentor emphasizes is the importance of protecting your creative energy. Your mind does its best thinking when it isn't overwhelmed. When it has space, quiet, room to imagine. That's why many great thinkers, inventors, and leaders throughout history worked early in the morning. Not because they loved waking up early, but because those hours allowed them to think clearly without interruption. And when you protect those moments of focus, you give your mind the chance to create something meaningful, something powerful, something that pushes your life forward. By now, both the entrepreneur and the artist are starting to see the bigger picture. This isn't just about waking up earlier. It's about designing a life of intentional growth. A life where each day builds upon the previous one. Where discipline becomes freedom. And where small daily habits slowly transform into extraordinary results. And as the journey in the 5 a.m. club begins to reach its final stage, something powerful becomes clear. This book was never just about waking up early. It was about designing a life of intention. Throughout the story, the entrepreneur and the artist slowly begin transforming. Not because their circumstances magically changed, but because their habits changed. Their mornings became structured. Their thinking became clearer. Their focus became stronger. And over time, their lives started shifting in ways they never expected. The billionaire mentor leaves them with one final realization. The quality of your life is shaped by what you do consistently. Not occasionally. Not when you feel motivated. But what you do every single day. One of the most powerful messages in the book is that greatness doesn't come from dramatic moments. It comes from small daily disciplines practiced over time. Imagine planting a seed. On the first day, nothing happens. The second day, still nothing. But beneath the soil, something is slowly forming. Roots. Strength. Structure. And eventually, that seed breaks through the surface. The same thing happens with personal growth. You wake up early. You move your body. You reflect. You learn. At first, the results feel invisible. But over time, the growth becomes undeniable. Looking at the bigger picture, here are the most powerful ideas Robin Sharma shares in this book. First, own your morning. The way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Instead of waking up and reacting to the world, create space to strengthen your mind, body, and focus. Second, protect your focus. We live in a distracted world. The people who achieve meaningful results are the ones who guard their attention and create time for deep thinking. Third, small improvements create massive transformation. You don't need dramatic overnight success. Improving just a little every day eventually leads to extraordinary growth. Fourth, Discipline creates freedom. Many people think discipline limits them. But in reality, discipline gives you control over your time, your energy, and your direction. And finally, your habits shape your future. What you repeat daily becomes the life you eventually live. At its core, the 5 a.m. Club is really about one powerful idea. Your best life won't appear by accident. It has to be designed intentionally. And sometimes, that design begins with something as simple as waking up earlier than everyone else. Creating quiet moments. Thinking deeply. Investing in yourself before the world demands your attention. Because those quiet morning hours can slowly transform the rest of your life. If this review resonated with you, if you've ever felt like your days are controlling you instead of the other way around, then I highly encourage you to read the book for yourself. Don't just rely on this review. Experience the ideas directly. Apply them. Experiment with them. And see what changes in your own life. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to like the video, it helps the channel grow. Share it with someone who wants to build better habits. And let me know in the comments. Would you ever try waking up at 5 a.m.? Or do you think productivity can happen at any time of the day? And of course, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into powerful books that can change the way we think, grow, and live. Until the next chapter.